Gosh, we're here. It's the Aligned Singer. I'm so pumped about today's episode. I think this one is going to help you so much. Woo! Because today we're talking about, I'm going to say it and then it's not going to seem uplifting, but it is. So stick with me. We're talking about rejection. Now, I'm just joking. No, I'm not joking. We're actually talking about rejection. But I'm just joking about it being sad. Actually, we're going to make this an empowering episode because we're talking about how to handle rejection as a performer. Woo! This one's hot to the touch. This one never goes away no matter how successful you get. I know. So I wanted to talk about this because in my voice studio, in my own performing pursuits, this is something that comes up again and again when you are doing the work of putting yourself out there. So that's what we're chatting about today on the Aligned Singer. But before we chat about it, I had better introduce myself. Who is this lady anyways? Well, my name is Sarah Hockey. I'm a classical soprano. I'm a voice teacher with a specialty in teaching and establishing your vocal technique, which I'm really crazy passionate about. No, it's true. I think about it constantly. Sometimes I dream about vocal technique adjustments. True story. And I'm your bel canto bestie, here to help you go from wherever you are right now with your voice, with your performance practice, to wherever it is that you dream of being, even if it's in the stars big. That's what I'm here to help you do. And on this episode of The Aligned Singer, we're talking about something that is innate to pursuing your craft professionally or even avocationally, meaning just because you love it. It's rejection. Now, rejection is such a bummer. But it's part of being a performer, and that's why I wanted to bring it up on the Aligned Singer, because we have to learn how to actually navigate rejection in your pursuit of your singing career and in your nervous system, that inner work, that outer work. I would say the outer work is putting yourself out there. The inner work in this case would be like your nervous system, your emotional response to rejection. This is going to be slightly different for everybody just based on your own background, your upbringing, the places that you feel really sensitive in your life, but it needs to be addressed for your performing, and we can do that right here. So let's chat about it. If you are putting yourself out there, maybe I'll start it again. I used to call putting myself out there PMOT. And my two besties just knew, today I'm PMOT. I'm putting myself out there. That, in the business world, is called marketing. So when you are marketing your skill set, putting yourself out there as a performer, that might look like, I'm sure you're very familiar with this, auditioning, sending in self-tapes, submitting for things, applying for programs, things like that. When you're in pursuit of your career and opportunities that will lead you to a career if you're student age, then you're going to come up on the big fat R, rejection. And I want to debunk this right away. Oh man. I'll tell you about it in a second, but I heard something that was extremely helpful about rejection that has really stuck with me for many years. I'll tell you about it in just a moment, but what I want to say first is that this issue of putting yourself out there and hearing no or hearing silence a lot of the time is innate and natural to the pursuit of your craft. If you want to get up on stage and pursue your craft, especially at a professional level, you're going to be putting yourself out there, PMOT, putting myself out there. You're going to be PMOT, PYOT, if it's you, a lot. You're going to be doing it most likely every single day, you're going to be doing self-tape submissions, auditions. If you're in pursuit of your career, you know what I'm talking about. It's a lot. And oftentimes you're going to hear no, or you're going to hear silence if it's the type of audition where you don't get a response. What we're chatting about today is how do you actually handle hearing no without absorbing that and absorbing it and transferring it to part of your identity. So let's unpack just that for 1 second. If somebody gives you a yes, a no, feedback, right? That's my job as a voice teacher, is to be giving adjustments and cultivating sound. If somebody is doing that for you and your craft, you start to hear things that are discouraging, like no. We're going to reframe that as being discouraging in just a second. But if you start to hear no a lot, it's very easy to accidentally transfer that to meaning something about you. For example, well, I got no, or no answer whatsoever on 90 auditions. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. That would be then translating it, that part of your quote unquote marketing, into a story about yourself and your abilities as an artist, or if you should pursue this professionally, etc. And that's what I want to help you prevent from happening, because when these things start to get tangled up together, it can be very discouraging for you. And if you're in that mode, think about if you were tangled up in something, or something was stuck on you and you're like, ugh, it's very contractive. It's very like, ugh, like this. And that is not going to be the place that you want to create your craft from, that you want to sing from, that you want to audition from, because it's not a place of freedom, possibility, and creativity, which are the things that we need not only to pursue our craft, freedom, possibility, creativity in the pursuit of your craft, but also in your singing itself. You want to have freedom, possibility, flexibility, all of that. So it can affect you in that way about your craft and the way you're singing, but it can also affect your mindset. Now, let's go back. We put a pin in it and we're going to unpin it now. Let's try and reframe no. So, what I said before is that no can feel very discouraging when you hear it. No can feel like, well, and that is normal. I'm going to say that's normal. But a no could also be, I've heard this a lot, rejection is redirection. It could also be neutral. Well, it really doesn't matter what they said. If you are, up to 5 auditions a day, it's normal that most of them are going to be no. That's normal. And we need to normalize the no. I like the alliteration there. We need to normalize the no, because it is a totally healthy and normal part of casting your net wide and trying to see what opportunities are out there for you. Like I said before, not twisting it up and embodying it as some kind of thing about yourself. That's the important piece here. But here's another thing that no could mean. We got rejection is protection. There's another one. I've heard this and I've felt this in my life. No means not yet. I'm specifically thinking of a grant that I applied for my voice studio, my brick and mortar local studio in my community. And I had to apply 3 times to get the grant. But it just meant not yet. You need a tighter application, things like that. So it can mean not yet. It can be neutral. And it can also mean, and this is my favorite interpretation. So if you're distracted, come back to me, look deeply into your screen, or listen deeply into your earbuds. Actually, for both things, you can listen deeply into your earbuds for this. What no can also mean, which is my favorite interpretation of the word no, it can also mean kind of yes, in a way. If you're confused, let me clarify. It can be like, yes, I put myself out there. Yeah, I did it. I put myself out there. I did the thing. I made the self-tape. I did the audition. I did the application. I sent it in. I sent it in on time. I didn't quit. I'm still in pursuit of my career. And that can take the negative friction of hearing no and transform it into something positive. It can also mean, hey, I'm doing the thing. There's this great quote by, I think it might be an Eisenhower quote. Brene Brown uses it a lot about being in the arena. If you're not in the arena, I think that, or Roosevelt, I'm not sure. I feel like it's an American president that said it. But being in the arena is doing the thing, actually being in pursuit of sharing your craft with the world. And so if you hear no a lot, it means you're putting yourself out there a lot. So let's circle back to the thing that I said in the beginning. There was this one thing that I heard one time that has stuck with me just beyond anything else. So probably about a decade ago, I heard an interview online with a director, actor, actress named Bryce Dallas Howard. She's very successful. She's done a lot of big stuff. And this interview was so fantastic. I've listened to it at least 3 times. I've sent it to students, etc. Sent it to friends for sure. And Bryce says that this is so great. Oh my gosh, if you're distracted, come back to me again. Bryce said that she grew up with a grandfather who was an actor. Her grandpa was an actor, and he told her that he kept an audition log. I'm so excited to tell you about this. Wow, I'm freaking out right now. And he considered himself a successful actor. And in this audition log, he would log the audition. He was probably logging, if you know about audition logs, he was probably logging other things. What are you wearing? Where are you, blah, 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 analyzing his work, etc. Who was there? The casting director, all that type of stuff. If you're in classical, who's the artistic director? Who's in the room when you're auditioning? Logging all that stuff. But the important part is he would review this audition log and found that out of about 100 auditions, he would get 1 yes. Let me say it again. Bryce Dallas Howard's grandfather kept an audition log and found that as a successful, consistently working actor, out of 100 auditions, he got 1 yes. Are you taking this information in right now? Have you ever heard me say this before? If you know me, you probably have, because this had a huge impact on me and her. She started to, I'm so excited to tell you about this. She started to track her auditions when she started pursuing her career professionally, and she would say, I get it. An average actor, you know what? Now that I'm speaking about it, I remember that her grandfather, this came from research that was done on actors, not just his audition journal, but he took this to his audition journal, that the average actor books 1 out of 100 auditions. Now, if you're a singer, obviously you're a singer. This is called the aligned singer. I'm using the word actor because that's what the example was. But out of 100 PMOTs, remember my little acronym, putting myself out there, out of 100 putting myself out there's, what if your average was 1 out of 100? And that could help you normalize what we're talking about today, hearing no, rejection, hearing silence, just people not responding, not hearing back about auditions, things like that. What if it was 1 out of 100? Just like it was for that actor and his granddaughter, whose interview I heard. That would fully normalize hearing no. Now, let's make something out of this. we don't usually do this on the Aligned Singer, but we need to today, because does not feel like enough to leave you with like, see, that's okay, use data. First, I want to say, there's two things I want to share with you. First, I want to share, try and start, I know, we're artists. Some of us, like, I want to say kvetch, which is a Yiddish word. We really resist tracking and data. But how it's helpful if you do start to make a note of your PMOT, you're putting myself out, your marketing efforts, your auditions, things like that, you're putting yourself out there. You may find your personal average and personal patterns. Let's unpack both. Your personal average might be whatever it is, 1 out of 50. Maybe it's really good. Maybe it's 1 out of 25. I would say that's really successful. Then the next time you hear no, if it's, let's pretend it's 1 out of 50. If it's 49 no's and 1 yes, you'll know you're just right at average. If it's more yeses out of 50, then you'll know you're operating above average. You can start to analyze what you're doing. What are you doing differently in your performing? What are you doing differently with your voice? What are you doing differently the way you show up for these things? Whether it's an email outreach, whether it's an audition, whether it's an application, things like that. And you can start to tweak and improve that and be very strategic about your PMOT. You can track it and you can tweak it. I literally just thought of that right now. You can track it and you can tweak it. You can track it and you can tweak it. That's so silly. Somebody please make a song out of that. Track it and tweak it. Tweaking it would be doing things like, hey, what worked? I got a yes. What was it? Did I have connections with this person or this organization? Or take a look if it's an email reach out, which is part of PMOT if you're networking for your career. What did I say in this email? Was it casual? Was it short? Was it long? Etc. Did I share a lot? Did I share a little? Just take a look and try and find, I promise I'd circle back to patterns, try and find patterns in the yeses. And that I think could really help. So then you can track it, you can tweak it, you can try to find patterns throughout things that you felt like were successful PMOT. And I think that'll uplift you as well, because what are we doing? What is the whole point of this? Of course, the point is to get your voice out into the world because you're incredible, and that's what I'm here for. It's also, though, I'm trying to show you and teach you how to take the emotional charge out of rejection. Do you see what I'm trying to do here? I hope so. I hope so. So if you can lessen that emotional wave and emotional charge of rejection, that is so helpful. There's another thing that I wanted to mention, and that is creating a toolbox around rejection. I'm always so real with you. It's always so vulnerable and embarrassing, but there are rejections that I've gotten that were like a dark night of the soul series of rejections for sure, especially in my 20s when I was still struggling with my voice and trying to figure things out, having just moved to New York City and not knowing anybody. It was a really tough time. And there were also times where I was already singing. This would be like if I did now, where I was already singing really well and being hired to sing all the time and singing professionally. And I was auditioning for something like a summer intensive or a special program or young artist programs. I did a lot of auditioning for that and got rejected from almost every single one. And I remember one in particular. Really prestigious classical voice, which is my specialty as your bel canto bestie program. And I had my own apartment by that time. I felt like I was doing so well. I was singing really well. I had a fantastic audition. And I was waitlisted. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was waitlisted. That I knew immediately, like, that's a big success. I really hope I get to go. And they reached out to me. Actually, now that I'm telling you this, that happened a lot in those couple of years of my career, where people would reach out to me personally and say, it was really tough. You performed incredibly, but you were our second choice. And those got some really good tears and tissues time. I call it tears and tissues time. In my studio apartment kitchen on 104th Street in Manhattan, I let myself cry it out. So if that's where you need to go first, go there. If you get to 100 auditions and you've heard no every time, it is okay to let yourself have an emotional release. It does not mean you're weak. It does not mean you're a failure. Let yourself have the emotions rise up. That's the only way they're going to actually move through and out of you. The Nagoski sisters wrote a book. It's called Burnout, and it's by the Nagoski sisters, Emily and Amelia Nagoski. I heard about it through Brene Brown many years ago, and it's amazing. I tried to find it over my bookshelf, but I can't move my chair or I'll get out of alignment with the camera. And since this is the aligned singer, I have to stay put. Did you get my joke about alignment? But in that book, they teach us that emotions are like a tunnel, and you've got to go all the way through the tunnel in order to complete what they name as the stress cycle. But we could also think of an emotion as a tunnel. You've got to go all the way through it. So it's okay if you start with a cry break when you get to a certain point of putting yourself out there, even if you shift your mindset like we're working on today, and you're like, yes, I put myself out there. Yes, I put myself out there. Yes, at every no, every rejection, I put myself out there. I put myself out there. I put myself out there. And not in a Pollyanna way, in a grounded way. It's okay if you need to cry first. It'll help you complete your stress cycle or your emotion cycle. But then, here are a few ideas that I came up with for you to help fortify and scaffold around yourself, because let's be real for a second. Being an artist and putting your artistic work out there, especially as a singer, when your instrument is literally you, literally your body, it's very, very vulnerable work. And hearing no all the time, we've got to get preventative about letting that mean something about yourself. So here's what I would suggest. I would suggest that you look in your circle of friends or colleagues, or if you feel like you don't have this, to look to cultivate and start this circle of friends and colleagues who can be there for you and voice note each other about auditions. And it could be a small group, it could be a little group chat. It could be like when Rejection enters the group chat, y'all are like, hey, you're putting yourself out there, and you have people around you to support you. Maybe it's a one-on-one thing where you have an accountability buddy and you can voice note with a friend and let them know how you're feeling. That is what I personally do. I don't face this a lot because I'm not doing 100 auditions a week. But if I was, 1,000,000% would I do it. And anytime I do a grant application or things like that to fund my recording projects or my voice studio, etc., sometimes I get putting myself out there fatigue, doing things like putting myself out there as a voice teacher. Then I go straight to my trusted people that we used to call it perfect peeps in my acting studio in New York City, perfect peeps that understand exactly what it feels like to face the amount of rejection that we face as singers, putting ourselves out there, and that can be super duper supportive. The other things I would suggest are the things I feel like I talk about on every single episode. A great morning pages practice, which comes from The Artist's Way, which is over there on my bookshelf somewhere, where a journaling practice can be great. Long walks in nature, any kind of scaffolding that's your little, don't laugh at me, I have this dorky fanny pack that I use when I garden. If you don't know me yet, I garden. I have like a massive flower garden. If you follow me on Instagram, you see it. And it holds all my little tools. So I'm imagining you're a cutie. It's a ridiculous little like $5 thing. But it holds all these tools, and then I always have what I need if I get into a sticky situation and I'm way out, it's over there. in the back corner of my garden, really far away from the tool shed, I've got what I need. So for you, I would suggest the group text thread, individual friends that you can chat with, surrounding yourself with people who are doing what you do, who understand what it's like to be in the arena, like we were talking about before. For me, I'll give you my examples. This might not resonate with you. A lot of people that love the Line Singer live in big cities because it's easy to pursue your performing career in big cities. And I did for a very long time. Now I live in the middle of nowhere because I love gardening and nature, but mine are walks in nature. And I want to give you a caveat. I've had to be really strong with myself about this. Quiet walks in nature where I either do not bring my phone with me at all. It's not even in the car, literally. I live in a very quiet, safe community, so it doesn't worry me at all. Just don't bring the telephone at all with me. Or if I do have it with me because I want to take pictures or videos or something like that, not talking on the phone, not voice noting people. So I'm not chattering. There's no chatter and noise. I know you're going to be like, but Sarah, I'm so busy. She talks about this. Julia Cameron talks about this in The Artist's Way. I've been thinking about it a lot lately, as you can tell. Not listening to podcasts, not listening to music, literally just taking in with my ears. Your ears are so important. You're a musician. You're a singer. Hello. It can really help you in your singing practice. That's how I'll frame it. But we'll just really be present and unplug. That is one of the most helpful things for me personally when it comes to handling rejection. For you, if you live in London, if you live in LA, for heaven's sakes, please go to the beach if you live in LA. If you live in New York City, for goodness sakes, please go to Prospect Park. Please go to Central Park. Please go to Riverside Park. Those are my 3 faves. I've lived nearby them all. And just be there. Just be there. Grab your picnic blanket. Go to the Great Hill. That's where I used to live. In Central Park. And hang out, do other things besides performing. So if your day is structured like this, let's say you have, for example, super common in NYC, you have a restaurant, and LA, you have a restaurant job to help support yourself, or extra support jobs or parallel careers. It's taken up with that, and then all the auditioning. Where is your time to restore yourself and restore your well? Doing that is not optional, because rejection is not optional. Let me say that again. If you're distracted, please come back to me. This is very important. Refilling your well, your artistic well, with things like laughter with friends, game night, board games. I know it's dorky. A play reading club that has nothing to do with putting yourself out there, but is just so that you can read plays that you love. I used to host one at my apartment on 104th Street. Things like that need to be in your day. And if you can't find time for it every single day, once a week, you've got to carve out that time. And that is going to help you stay connected to why you're going through all this of putting yourself out there and facing rejection in the first place. So I would highly suggest something like that, a friendship practice. Totally real with you. I could be doing more of that. I'm going to be doing a little bit more dinner parties. I have a house now. I can invite people over. Things like that. For me, obviously, gardening is a big deal for me. I have a massive garden. Like I said, you can see it on Instagram if you want to. Other things like that. So those are the things that are in my personal toolbox. Maybe it's going to your favorite coffee shop, and instead of bringing your phone inside, you lock your phone in the car. You head inside. I guess you have to bring your wallet because you can't pay with Apple Pay like I do. And you bring a book. There's this young man who goes to my favorite coffee shop in my town every single Sunday, and he has his phone in his pocket, but he does not use it. He reads a book. He reads a really, really good book every Sunday afternoon. It's so cool, and he's a pretty young guy. It's really cool to see. Someday I'm going to tell him he was on the Line Singer and he didn't even know. Things like that. You know what else would be great for handling rejection? If you can do it without beating yourself up, that's my little assignment for you. You know yourself well enough to know. But going to theater, for me personally, fuels my well, like we're talking about. It helps me handle putting myself out there and the rejection that comes along with that and hearing no, when I get inspired by other people's work, it makes me want to be brave. It makes me want to put myself out there more. So if you're that way and it's truly inspiring and not like, oh, I wish I was up there, I wish I was doing that. As long as it's that, but it's not beating yourself up, you're good. So I would definitely suggest that. I would also suggest, I don't know why I feel like this is dorky. You probably think this is cool like I do, but I would suggest visiting your local art museum, even if it's a small gallery. I'm super lucky. I live right next to New York City, like a hop, skip, and a jump away. So I can hop on the train, I don't even have to drive, and I can go into the city and go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I'm a member at the MoMA. I get to go to the Met all the time. Museums like that, the Frick collection. I mean, oh my gosh, I could go on. And that, because here's why. And I've never shared this on the Aligned Singer before, and I can't believe it took me this long to share. The reason why is I can fill up my well and get inspired, which takes me out of feeling beat up by rejection or fatigue from PMOT, putting myself out there, putting yourself out there. And it's a different art form. It's still, for me, classical music is my art form. It's still a classical art form or contemporary, but it's not actually performing. So if I am feeling super, especially in my 20s when I felt this way, like I really want to be up on that stage, I don't know how I'm going to do it, oh my gosh. And sometimes I would not feel so great about myself after going to a performance. How do I get there? The good news is I did get there. But if you feel that way, going to visit an art form that's not directly yours, which could be singer-songwriter, it could be classical music, it could be opera, concertizing, it could be musical theater. If you're going into a different art form, it can really help you reconnect to your purpose as an artist, to share beauty with the world, and you can just take it in. Oh my gosh, take a sketch pad. I have one of my best friends takes a sketch pad and he sketches at the Met Museum while I wander around, and it's just amazing. So those are the things that I would suggest. And if you have any interest in crafting, things like, there's a soprano whose voice I love, who I'm happy to call a friend. She is a prolific knitter and does all these amazing knitting patterns, and it really helps her just stay grounded and express herself creatively outside of her voice. For me, I love doing silversmithing and jewelry. I love, obviously, gardening. I love lapidary, collecting and polishing stones, things like that. If you feel like you're there in your life, that can also help fill your well, because you get to, I didn't plan to share this, but I heard a masterclass with the famous American mezzo-soprano Joyce DiDonato once, and it just opened something up for me. I was probably about 27 when I heard this, maybe 27, I think. And she was talking in a masterclass about how having a creative expression outside of your art. She was really talking not about creative expression. Sorry for the mistake. It wasn't exactly that. If you know it, the places where you can comment or DM me, send it to me, because I can't remember which masterclass it was, and I'd have to dig because this was a long time ago. She was talking about having a life outside of pursuing your craft. And for most of my life, I didn't, but now I do. And I find that when I hear no, and I've applied for something or put myself out there for an opportunity that's a really big deal and that I really also think I'm going to get, and then I get rejected, it doesn't feel like this massive takedown of, as we were speaking about at the beginning, my nervous system and my emotions, because I have a rich life outside of that. So if that doesn't happen, yes, it is disappointing. Also, yes, it means I put myself out there. But also, yes, I still have a rich, full life outside of that 1 or 10, or as we spoke about, 50 or 100 opportunities. I still have a rich life and creative expression, etc. The last thing I want to leave you with is this, and this I started to learn as I would go and experience the work of my colleagues in my 30s in New York City, and that's what birthed the chapter of my career that I'm in right now. I started to become friends with performing artists in New York City who were creating their own work. But it wasn't like creating their own work and not putting it on well. They were creating their own work and putting on, let's just say, a concert that was absolutely fantastic. The marketing was gorgeous, meaning like the program design, the way they would send a newsletter about it. It was stunning. And I was like, what? They just did this. They made this up themselves. I'm thinking of one friend and her collaborator did this themselves. Actually, now I'm flooded with thoughts of a bunch of friends that did things themselves. Huge, gorgeous film projects for their singing. Really, really, really good work. All done themselves. And in the case of this one concert that I was thinking of first, all they did was rent the space. It was in Brooklyn. We all came. We paid a small ticket fee that helped pay for the space, and that's it. And it was full. It was so professional. She sang so beautifully, and I got to text her after this podcast. If you've done that and you've seen somebody that's done that and they've inspired you, text them after you listen to this podcast. So that is the last thing I'll leave you with, because that can continue to elevate your craft and PMOT, put myself out there, while you're auditioning for things and hearing a lot of rejection, which can kind of feel like this sometimes, but you're still elevating yourself. If you're distracted, come back to me one last time. Don't be distracted. I know you're focused. So if you start to create your own work, just try it out and see if you like it. It can be one song. It can be recording, especially in today's age, recording a piece, putting it on Instagram, recording a piece, putting it on YouTube. There's an artist, Ellery Ward, who made an entire incredible reinvention of Stephen Sondheim songs in her apartment in 2020, and it's one of my favorite albums of all. It's amazing. That elevated her craft while I think I follow her on Instagram, while she puts herself out there constantly. And I'm sure, I don't know her personally, but I'm sure she faces a lot of rejection. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And it doesn't even have to be a whole album. It can be one song. It can be one phrase of a song, and just start there and see if you enjoy it. And if you do, I would highly suggest it, because that's a way to get your voice out into the world without depending just on other people to say yes to you. And speaking of getting your voice out into the world, that is what I'm here to help you do. May I remind you that in all of the universe, all of time, there's nobody that's going to be able to sing exactly like you. Your voice is completely unique to you. Nobody else is ever going to have it, because nobody else is you. This iteration of your singing right now is so essential for the world to hear. And I know you want to share your gift with the world, especially if you're listening to this episode, because you've been putting yourself out there. You've been putting your gift out there. So let me be the person that reminds you today that your voice is really special. I feel like I'm going to cry right now, but I'm going to try to hold back my tears. I'm so passionate about reminding you about this when we're together at the Aligned Singer, because it's true. It's not a bunch of hogwash. This is true. Nobody can interpret a song exactly like you. You have your own gift and your own interpretation to birth out into the world. Do what you need to do to keep going. Do not let facing rejection or hearing no, or even a mountaintop of no, stop you. I once heard from somebody who's not an artist that success happens on you're climbing a mountain of rejection and you're at the top, and that is how success happens. And it's true. Your success is going to happen because you keep going and keep going. Just don't ever lose track that your voice has to be out in the world. Keep climbing that mountain. Hey, I'm a Capricorn. I'm like kind of like a mountain goat, so I like that imagery. Keep going. Do not give up. I believe in you so beyond what you can even imagine. I think about you all the time. If you want to connect with me, if you can remember any of the anecdotes that I shared today, please send them to me. You can DM me on Instagram or TikTok. You can comment on this if you listen on Spotify, if you listen and watch on YouTube. Probably Apple Podcasts will get a discussion element soon. That would be so awesome. So you can connect with me in all those places. I'm at Voice Teacher Sarah. That's my name on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And I believe in you so much. If you're interested in studying voice with me or exploring whatever my current programming is when you're listening to this, then just Google Sarah Hockey Voice Studio and you'll find it. We're doing an amazing website refresh right now, and I might change my domain name, so I'd rather have you Google it and go to the right place. And we'll leave it there for today. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. That was such a good one. I'm so glad that you joined me for that. If you need to listen a second and third time, please do. If you need to share it with a friend who struggles with this too, or you're their buddy that they call when they're crying, please do it, because their gift matters too. Bye for now.